Okay, so my screen is shared in front of you. Okay, I've opened the NCERT. Most of the diagrams for this chapter will be referred from the NCERT itself. Okay, so make sure that you are going through the diagrams. And let us talk about the male reproductive system right now. So male reproductive system, it has got, you can see over here, this is the testes. Okay, testes that is located in a scrotal areas outside the abdominal cavity. Okay, and both the diagrams you can see, in this diagram, you can see the transverse section also being shown to you, fine? So you have the testicular lobules are inside it. We'll come to the detail of the testicular lobules later on. And then what happens is that the testes then, because it's an extra abdominal region in which it is present. So from the testes, you have the vasa efferentia coming out, and then you have the different structures coming out leading to the structure that is called the vas deferens, that is known as, okay? So you have the vasa efferentia, vas deferens, okay? And then vas deferens and the ureter, they together are opening through a common passage they are opening, okay? Along with that, there are certain glands also present. So you have a seminal vesicles are there, prostate glands are there, bulbourethral glands are there. So we'll talk about these glands also in detail, okay? So let us first talk about how the testes look like, okay? So obviously, these are present in the extra abdominal region, in the scrotal sac, these are present, okay? And the purpose of the testes being present in the scrotal sac is that over there the temperature is slightly around, you can say 2 degrees Celsius below the body temperature. And this is temperature is required for the proper spermatogenesis process, okay? Now I'll use certain terminologies over here. So again, in this chapter also, all the terminologies being science subject, being a biology subject, terminologies along with the diagrams are very, very important. So let us first use this term spermatogenesis. I'm writing this term on the board. It is called spermatogenesis. Right? So we have spermatogenesis. And what is the spermatogenesis? It is a part of what is known as gametogenesis. It is the same thing. It is okay. So we have spermatogenesis, which is actually a part of a gametogenesis. It is right. So in this gametogenesis process, what is happening is that the formation of the sperms are happening, and the sperms are nothing but the spermatozoa. Right? Remember this term, a single cell which is a gamete of a human reproductive system, will be known as a spermatozoa, it will be known as. So the formation of the spermatozoa and the sperm we talk about will be referred to as spermatogenesis process. Similarly, in the case of the female, you have another gametogenesis kind of a structure, and there you use the word oogenesis over here. So wherever I'm using the word genesis, it is, means the making of that cell. Like spermatogenesis, sperm making, oogenesis, you have the ova cell or the ovum being made. Again, it's a gamete having a haploid number of chromosomes. The sperm will also have a haploid number of chromosomes. So what is this all processes known that? It is known as a gametogenesis. So both the regions, if I talk about, on the one side, I'm talking about the testes as the major reproductive structure, primary sex organ, it is known as, okay? And on the other hand, we have the ovary. So these are the structures which are actually forming these processes, means this gametogenesis process happening in the ovary, and it is happening in the testes, means the spermatogenesis in the testes and the gametoogenesis happening in the ovary. So they become the primary sex organ, they become, which are forming the gametes actually, okay? So if I'm now restricting myself to the male reproductive system, let us not talk about how these are arranged, okay? That's also an important thing. So if you look at the structures present over here, just I'll put a mark over here so you understand what I'm talking about, okay? This whole structure is of a testes. This is the testes, right? Now this testes is located in the extra abdominal region. It is located. If you look at the TS of the testes, the part of the testes you can see is opened up and shown to you, okay? It has got testicular lobules inside. Right. So like, what are the testicular lobules? STs have got compartments inside it. So there are around nearly 250 compartments are present inside it. And each of these compartments are having seminiferous tubules inside it. So such type of questions, tricky question comes during the examination. What does the testes hold? Then what is the testicular lobule? What is there inside the testicular lobules? You should be very much clear in your mind. Okay. So what are we talking about? We are talking about the testes that has got testicular lobules. These are the kind of compartments that are present inside the testes, okay? And each lobule is again having a very coiled structure, like 1 to 3 coiled structures are present inside it. And we say that these are known as the seminiferous tubules, these are, okay? And this seminiferous tubule is responsible for the production of, you can say, the germ cell, right? And we talk about this in case of a germ cell, we talk about spermatozoa, spermatogonia, okay? So the seminiferous tubules are having two type of cells it is having. One is a cell which is known as, again, I'll share my whiteboard with you so you can understand more clearly. So what are we talking about? We are talking about, fine, we are talking about the testes, right? Now, within the testes, you are having the compartments are present, right? Within the testes, you have the compartments present. Now, what are these compartment areas inside, okay? And these compartments are known as testicular lobules, they are known as. Okay, what are these compartments known as? They are called testicular lobules. Around there are 250 compartments inside test. Now, what is there inside the testicular lobules? It is going to have 2 to 3 seminiferous tubules, right? So, what is there inside the testicular lobule? You have the seminiferous tubule is there inside it. So, you have such kind of seminiferous tubules inside it. Okay. So, testes are there. You have the testicular lobules are there. You have the seminiferous tubules are there. Within the seminiferous tubules, you have got two type of cells are present. Okay. One cell is known as a Sertoli cell. One cell is known as what? A Sertoli cell that is meant just for the nutrition of the growing sperm or the growing spermatogonia, right? So one type of cell, we say that is a Sertoli cell it is, okay? The second type of cell is known as the germ cell, right? Now, what is this germ cell? What is the meaning of the germ cell? Means that this is the cell which has got the haploid number of chromosome. So we talk about here the germ cell, which will actually form what is known as spermatogonia, right? So again, as in the last chapter, all the terminologies were very, very important. In this chapter also, you have to be very careful with what terminologies you're using. I'm repeating once again. So if you have the testes, it has got different type of compartmentalization inside it. And these compartments are around 250 in number. Within those compartments, you have the testicular lobules are present. Again, within those testicular lobules, there are 2 to 3 seminiferous tubules are present. Within the seminiferous tubules, you have two different type of cells are there. One is a germ cell that is forming the spermatogonia, that is a sperm cell we talk about. And another one is a Sertoli cell, which is actually the cells which are providing nutrition to this growing sperms. Okay. Let us get back to the diagram part. Fine. So, right. So if you look at this structure over here, it's been very clearly shown in this diagram, okay? This is actually the sectional view of a seminiferous tubule, right? So this type of 2 to 3 seminiferous tubules are present inside each testicular lobules it is present, okay? And within these regions, you have these spermatogonias, the spermatozoas are present. What are these? These are the male germ cells in the making. And surrounding these cells, you find one more type of cells are present, and that is known as a Sertoli cell. These are known as, okay? So remember, it's an important thing. So we talk about in case of the seminiferous tubule we talk about. Again, in this diagram also it has been very clearly shown to you, okay? That you have the regions, obviously, which is surrounding the seminiferous tubule. It is having the interstitial cells, so the Leydig cells are present, okay? And they are responsible for the production of the hormones, like the androgens we talk about, testosterone we'll talk about. So if you look at the location, you look at the location of these cells, okay? This diagram is very important, students. Every second year, NCERT, CBSE is definitely asking this diagram in the examination. So what does this diagram depict actually, okay? This diagram is depicting 2-3 very important things it is depicting. Number one, look at the interstitial cells, right? What are these interstitial cells? These are the, you can see the red color structures, the pink color structure shown on the surrounding area. These are the cells which are actually having the blood vessels with it. I'm writing BV for the blood vessels in it. Okay, and this is actually the region that is producing the androgens. This is a kind of a hormone which actually helps in the spermatogenesis process. Okay, So you have everywhere where this Sertoli cells are there, the spermatogonias are there. It is surrounded by the interstitial cells that is having the blood vessel inside it. Also, it is helping in the production of the androgens. Okay, fine. What is there inside it? Inside you have the different stages in which the germ cells are located. Okay, so what are these different stages? You have the spermatogonias are present. The spermatogonia is somewhere inside it, over in this region, right? The center part of the testicular lobules, the spermatogonias are. Then you have the different stages of it. Like for example, we start calling them the spermatozoas also. The different these are the different names for the sperms which are there in the different stages. Okay, we use the term spermatogonia, we use the term spermatozoa. So within this region, the region which is enclosed by the interstitial cells on all the sides, in the center of that we have the spermatogonias are present, and also the spermatozoa. It is the same thing. It's the same type of a germ cell in different stage, you can say, in a different stage of matureness. It is there. So different names are given to it. Okay. Now, apart from that, one very, very interesting thing is there. If you look at this region, okay, this region is having a Sertoli cell. Now, what is that Sertoli cell? If you can see, this is the region of a Sertoli cell. This is the region of a Sertoli cell. Can you see? I'm just marking it with an orange color, okay? This is the region of the Sertoli cell. So, the Sertoli cells are actually surrounding the spermatogonias and the spermatozoa. So, what is the purpose of these Sertoli cells? They're also the type of the cells that is present inside the seminiferous tubule, okay? But their main function is not the production of the spermatozoa. They're actually providing nutrition to the maturing spermatozoas inside the seminiferous tubule. Okay, the questions do come in examination where you are required to draw the diagram. Again, I'm saying don't draw the rough diagram. The diagram needs to be very precise. A proper labeled diagram needs to be there. Diagram without a labeling doesn't fetch you any marks. You'll get 0 in it. Okay, so make sure you're drawing the diagram also properly. Labeling part, again, very, very important. So whenever you are drawing the seminiferous tubule, these 4 labelings are important. You should be drawing the interstitial cell. Again, the question comes like that, you draw the structure, you label the structure, and give the significance or the function of any 4 structures, right? Such type of questions also come. So you have the interstitial cells having some kind of a function. You have the Sertoli cells have the function. And what are these spermatozoas? They're actually the future male germ cell. These are male germ cell. These are which are actually the gametes we talk about. Okay, so obviously we talk about such type of structures. Okay, complete diagram needs to be presented. Okay, sometimes it has been asked as a 2 marker. Sometimes when the functions are also being asked, the question becomes a 3 marker question. Okay, fine. So the seminiferous tubule is clear in your mind. Okay, and the seminiferous tubule along with the labeling I have discussed. Okay. Now, what about the other things that are located over there? Okay. Now, there are certain ducts also present. Okay. If you look at this structure of the testes, if you look at, okay, when the testes is leaving the scrotal sac, this is the scrotal, it is leaving the scrotal sac region. Okay. It is having some kind of ducts included to it. Like, for example, initially you have this thing that is called the retate testis, the part that is leaving the scrotal sac. Then you have the vasa efferentia is there. Then the epididymis is there. And then again, slightly above, you will see the vas deferens is also there. Okay, this is the region of a vas deferens. Just before it joins with the ureter, the urinary bladder region. Okay, it is having the ureters. The vas deferens part. Okay, so what is there? We have the ducts of the male sex organ you can talk about. Accessory ducts, we call them, okay? So when a seminiferous tubule is opening into vasa efferentia, the connection between the seminiferous tubule and the vasa efferentia is actually the retate testes. It is, okay? The part that is leaving the scrotal sac, we called it as a retate testes. And then it comes up, it enters into the abdominal region, and we start calling that duct as a vasa efferentia, okay? Vasa efferentia then opens into a slightly the posterior side, and that is known as epididymis. That is known as, so you have the epididymis part, and further from the epididymis, you have the vas deferens. Sometimes this question comes also in a series. You need to arrange the things. So obviously, you have the testes. From there, the retate testes are coming out. From there, the vasa efferentia are there. From there, the epididymis there, and from there, the vas deferens. When you learn the diagrams, now that's how you answer the question also, because you're drawing the diagram. What are you labeling first? You're labeling retate testes. Then you have the epididymis, then the vas efferentia is there, and the vas deferens is there. So you know all these things. So you know in series how the things are located. Okay. So again, how the things are leaving the testes are important. When the sperms are being formed, leave the testes in this manner, okay? And then finally, what happens is that vasa deferens opening into the abdominal region. I told you that testes are located in the extra abdominal region and special sac-like structures that are called the scrotal sac. They are located. So vasa deferens that is actually in the abdominal region, okay? And it finally becomes a loop over the urinary bladder, and then it receives a duct from different regions, and then finally it is being stored in the urethra part, okay? So the diagram is important, right? Diagram is important, and all the labeling part is important. Every little bit of terminologies, what is a testicular lobules, what are seminiferous tubules, what are Sertoli cells, what is interstitial cells, and every cell and its function and the significance and the location. If the diagram is being asked, you should be knowing about the location of it. If the terminology is being asked, you should be knowing about the actually what is the significance, and you should be writing 1 or 2 lines about it. Okay, fine. Let us further discuss about some glands also that are present. Okay, so along with, if you can see in the same diagram, I'll repeat. Okay, from when the testes, retate testes, epididymis, you have the vasa differentia, vasa deferens is there. It is finally opening into the urinary bladder. But before it opens into urinary bladder region, it meets certain ducts in between, okay, or the glands in between. There are 3 different glands which are known as accessory glands, which are known as, they are going to add they are going to add certain things, means like seminal vesicles are there, you have the prostate, you have the bulbourethral glands are there. So in between, when the vasa deferens has entered the abdominal cavity, okay, and from there it is about to open the urethra region, in between these are glands located, and these glands maybe some are rich in calcium and some are rich in fructose and all, okay. So what are they doing is that they are providing again energy for the motility of the sperm. We all know that sperm needs to be motile. So till the region of the vas deferens, they're not that motile, okay. But once it is mixed with the content of the seminal vesicle, they actually become motile because now they have got the fuel for becoming motile, or the locomotory nature of the sperm is enhanced when it meets structures from the when it meets the contents from the seminal vesicle, prostate gland, and the bulbourethral glands. Okay, so remember the name. These are the 3 glands of this thing, of the structure of the whole thing. So you have 3 different glands. The secretion of these glands constitutes a seminal vesicle that is rich in fructose, calcium, certain enzyme. And again, this helps in the lubrication of the penis. So all these things are important. You are writing 1 or 2, 3 sentences about it. See, whatever is there in NCERT, you need to mention that only. But obviously, you need to go through it again and again so that things are clear in your mind. So what we discussed right now about the type of cells present. Okay, we talked about this seminiferous tubule. We talked about the Sertoli cells. We talked about the male germ cells. We talked about the interstitial cells that are just surrounding these Sertoli cells and the male germ cells. Okay, and what is the role of the interstitial cell? Then we talked about the testes, the retate testes. Then we talked about epididymis, vasa efferentia, vasa deferens, and how is the vasa deferens opening into the abdominal region, and from there it is opening into the urethra. In between, where the vasa deferens before opening to the urethra, it meets 3 different glands also, seminal vesicle, prostate, and the bulbourethral gland. These are the 3 different glands where actually these are providing structures like calcium ions are there, fructose is there are certain enzymes present, and all these things are making sperms more motile in nature and active in nature. Okay, fine. So make sure that all the diagrams are also properly named and mentioned. Okay, fine. Next, we come to the female reproductive system. Again, a complex system it is. Why it is so complex? Because the female system has got 2 things to do. Okay, number 1 thing is that it needs to again produce the sperm, or it needs to produce a gamete. Okay, because the gametogenesis process will happen. That happens inside the ovary. The second very important thing is that it not only is creating a gamete. If the fertilization is happening, the baby is also for the 9 months of the gestation period, it grows inside the mother's womb. Okay. But that is the purpose why the female reproductive system is a bit more complex and undergoes not many changes. And because it needs to carry the baby for those 9 months of period, the body needs to prepare itself every time the fertilization is happening. Okay, fine. This is again very, very important diagram. This is, and this diagram, just a minute. Fine. So in this diagram, the different things are labeled. Okay, so let me start from the very primary thing, that is ovary we talk about. So what is the location of the ovary? The complete female reproductive system is there inside the abdominal cavity. Remember this thing. In case of the male, we cannot say that because the testes are there, extra abdominal level पे present होते हैं. But in case of the female, the complete reproductive system is exactly present within the abdominal region. Okay. So we start from the first structure, that is the ovary. In the ovary, obviously, the gametogenesis is going to happen. The gamete formation will happen, as in the case in the testes. We look at the TS of the ovary. This is the TS of the right. This is the TS of the ovary we talk about. Okay. So when we talk about the ovary, where it is located in the abdominal region. It is located. Okay. And this ovary, in a sectional view, you can see is having many structures which are in different stages of the development. Okay, so what is that one germ cell of the ovary? That's an ovum, right? But that ovum, before being made, is actually having in a series of different stages it is present. Okay, so I'll just mention certain stages for you. And then when we come to the detailed discussion of the gametogenesis, oogenesis, we'll talk about it once again. Okay, but just to show you the structure of the ovary, right? This ovary is located in the abdominal region, and it has got the structures like primary follicles, tertiary follicles, Graafian follicles are there, corpus luteum are there. All of these structures actually, they are just holding the ovum inside, right? The same as it was in the case for testes, where the Sertoli cells were providing nutrition to the growing spermatogonias. It is the primary follicle, it is the tertiary follicle, it is the Graafian follicle that is helping the ovum to grow inside and to sustain life. Okay. So we have when we see the section of the ovary, we see that the different follicles which are present in the different stages. Okay. And once the Graafian follicle stage is reached, we say that the follicles have completely matured, and then it erupts. Okay. It breaks up. And when it breaks up, it liberates an ovum. Then ovum starts flowing in the region that is connected to the ovary. I'll come back to that diagram. Just a minute. Let me just share one whiteboard with you, so it will be better for you to understand. Okay, so what is happening is that, let me just draw the structure for you so you'll understand in a better way. So this is a female reproductive system we talk about, okay? And the female reproductive system is having a structure something like this. Okay, I'll come to the detail of all these things later on. And let me just draw the structure for you. It is something like this. And it is this is the uterus part of it, okay? And this is the region where the ovaries are located, okay? So this is the ovary present, right? So what there inside the ovary? We have different stages in which the follicles are located. You have the primary follicle is there. I'm writing PF for it. We have a tertiary follicle is there. That is a TF. I'm writing for it. And a very important, you have a Graafian follicle. Once the Graafian follicle matures, the ovum is released, okay, it moves out of this ovary, right? And when it moves out of the ovary, it meets another structure that is called the fimbriae. This is the finger-like projections are present over here because we know that the ovum is not motile in nature. There has to be some finger-like projections that holds the ovum, okay? So when ovum moves out of the ovary through the process which is known as the ovulation process, right? When is ovulation happening? When the primary follicle gets converted to the tertiary follicle to the Graafian follicle, the Graafian follicle ruptures and it produces an ovum. Ovum moves out of the ovary, right? So when it is moving outside the ovary, it meets the fimbriae part. What is the fimbriae? It is a finger-like projections that are hanging from one region and it is holding the ovum which is moving out of the ovary, okay? And this whole region is a part of what is called the fallopian tube. The whole region is a part of what is called fallopian tube, right? And this fallopian tube is actually, in general common term, we use the word oviduct for it. Right, so now I think it is clear for you. And this is the ovary, and this whole structure is a oviduct or a fallopian tube. Okay, and this oviduct or a fallopian tube again is divided into isthmus, infundibulum part. And so we not go into the detail of it, but obviously when the ovum is moving this region, ovum starts moving in this region like that, right? If suppose the sperm is located in this region, the fertilization happens, and this is the part which is known as the uterus part, right? So one function of the reproductive system of the female was to produce the ovum. That is the female gamete we talk about. That's female structure is being produced. Female gamete is being produced. The second thing is that it needs to carry the baby for that 9 months of time if the fertilization is happening. For that purpose, you have another structure called the uterus. In common, the uterus is known as a womb of a mother. It is known as, okay, this is the place actually where the baby implants itself. Okay, that will come to the detail of the whole process. Okay, and this is called the uterus region. Also, the uterus region has got different layers are present. Not many blood vessels, because when the baby is growing inside it, okay, it need to be supplied with the complete nutrition. Most of the metabolism happening inside the baby's body is controlled by the mother's body. You have different layers present. Endometrium, myometrium layer is present, and we'll again come to that in detail when we talk about the parturition process. So the changes are happening basically in the endometrium layer, and this endometrium layer is actually the layer that adds on the blood vessels. Okay, so that this is able to give proper nutrition to the growing embryo, right? So you have, again, once again, I'm repeating, the ovary is there, then you have the fimbriae part is there. This whole structure is of the fallopian tube, and then this is the uterus region, which have the different layers of endometrium, myometrium, and the this thing. Okay, fine. Let me get back to the diagram once again. So let me come back to the female reproductive system, the diagram of a female reproductive system. Let us come back to, this is the one. Okay, so now you can see what I was talking about. So when you have the structure, whole structure, this what is the fimbriae? This is the part is the fimbriae. Ye fimbriae ka part hai ye sara. Okay, so this fimbriae part is meant for holding the ovum, and it is coming out from the ovary. Then it reaches the next part that is called the fallopian tube, that is also called the oviduct, also it is known as, okay. And this oviduct is having the 3 regions it is having. You have the infundulum, ampullas, and the isthmus region, right? We're talking about different regions. And this is the region where actually the ovum is traveling. Actually, the ciliated apparatus, it allows the ovum to travel. And in this region, if at all the sperm is present, it leads to the process of the fertilization. Where the embryo is getting implanted, it is this region. This is the place where the embryo is getting implanted, okay? And in this region of the uterus, it's got different layers. It has got the innermost layer to which actually the embryo attaches itself, okay? That layer is known as endometrium layer, that is known as, right? The layer inside the innermost layer of the uterus to which the implantation happens, to which actually the embryo is attaching itself, is known as the endometrium layer. It is known as, you have the endometrium, then you have the myometrium, and you have a perimetrium layer. Basically, every time when a fertilization is about to take place, okay, or when the ovulation happens, on all those cases, okay, it is the endometrium layer that undergoes lots and lot of changes. It undergoes, okay, and these all changes helps the baby to actually survive, right? This is also again very important thing, fine, because for that 9 months of period, the baby needs to survive, and it survives on the blood vessels and nutrition being provided by the mother. Okay, so that is how it is. This endometrium layer keeps on changing itself. Okay, again, students, the diagram is very important. This whole diagram comes as a 3 marker, comes as a 4 marker, comes as a 5 marker. Questions are being asked regarding this. Questions are being asked regarding the functions also. So what is the function of the ovary? What is the function of the endometrium? What is the function of the infundibulum, the fimbriae? So you should be knowing, at least writing one line about all the functions. This is very essential that things should not go blank. At least 1 to 2 lines you should be every time writing. Okay, fine. Let me proceed further from here. So we talked about the female reproductive system. The female reproductive system was having all these structures it was having. Okay, fine. Then we have one more important part of, you can say, the reproductive system is the mammary gland also, right? When we talk about the mammals, we also talk about the mammary gland, okay? Because the babies of the mammals, when they are given birth, they are not mature enough to feed on their own, right? They don't have the teeth, they don't have that way of moving around also. So they cannot obtain their own foods. As a part of a parental care, actually, the mammary glands are developed, okay? And this mammary gland helps the baby to feed in the initial stages, like for 6 months of time. It can feed on the mother's milk, okay? So when we talk about this structure also, this is a diagram given to you. Generally, this diagram is not asked. I've not seen that this diagram is being asked in the examination, but obviously they can ask you to label it, and some certain questions can be asked out of it. Okay. So what is this actually? The mammary gland. These are different types of mammary ducts are present inside. With the mammary alveoli, means that this is a duct, suppose, and this is a duct region, and these are the alveoli are present. What is the alveoli? Is filled with the milk actually. When the birth of a baby happens, different type of changes happens in the inside the woman's body, and this duct is filled with the milk. Okay, so mammary alveolus and the mammary ducts are there. And how it is arranged? It is arranged on the chest region, and that is through the muscles between the ribs. That is how it is all being present over. And you have the mammary lobes are also present. Again, the fat accumulation is also there. Okay, and that is how the mother gives feed the young ones till the time, maybe around 6 months of time, till the baby is ready to feed on its own. Okay, fine. So again, I've said that this diagram has never come in examination, but you should be knowing about it, and you should be knowing about the labeling part of this diagram. That's what they have talked about. They have said that all the female mammals, they are having mammary glands are present. Okay, and again, it has got the mammary lobes inside it. Within the mammary lobes, you have mammary ducts are there, and these ducts are having the alveoli-like structures of the cavities are present. Okay, and these cells of the cavities, they produce milk or they secrete milk. Okay, fine. Let us now come to the next topic, which is again, we talked about the structure of the male and the female reproductive system, and we talked about the testes and the ovaries, the major reproductive system, okay, which are producing the gametes, which are producing, okay. So let us come to the part where we show you that how the gametes are being produced, what are the different stages through which the gametes are being produced, okay. So obviously, सबसे पहले we'll talk about the spermatogenesis process. We'll talk about. So inside the testes, okay, the sperms are being produced, okay. So that process begins at the time of the puberty. When the child attains the puberty, at that time the sperm production starts, okay, and that's happening inside the testes. And this process is known as the spermatogenesis. One marker, the definition can also be asked. What is spermatogenesis? So write down the complete, don't leave the definition in between, half-headed type of definition. You should be writing it completely. That it is the male germ cells, that is the spermatogonias we talk about, and they are producing the sperms, and this process is known as spermatogenesis, and it happens at the time of the puberty. Okay, fine. Where are these spermatogonias located? So we'll come to it. So what is happening is that you have seen the diagram of the seminiferous tubule. Now this is the diagram which is showing you the enlarged structure. So this spermatogonias are actually first dividing itself in a mitotic way, right? And then it is producing a diploid structures having 46 chromosome that is called the primary spermatocyte, okay? Primary spermatocyte then undergoes the first meiotic division to form a secondary spermatocyte, and then secondary spermatocyte is giving rise to a, I'll use my whiteboard for this. So what am I talking about? I'm talking about the process of spermatogenesis. What is the location of spermatogenesis? Happening within the seminiferous tubule. It is happening. How is the process happening? Okay, so we have the spermatogonia, right? What is spermatogonia? It's a diploid structure having 2n number, that is a 46 chromosomes are. This is having a 46 chromosome, right? It undergoes the primary, it undergoes the equational division, that is the mitosis division it undergoes, okay? And it forms a primary spermatocyte. It forms a primary spermatocyte. Within the primary spermatocyte, this primary spermatocyte undergoes the first meiotic division, which is, is a reductional division. That is, if this is 2n in number, okay, the primary spermatocyte becomes secondary spermatocyte. This becomes secondary spermatocyte. And you write S over here. So it becomes secondary spermatocyte. This is going to have half the number of chromosomes, okay? And this secondary spermatocyte will give rise to a structure that is called spermatozoa, right? And this is happening through the second meiotic division, right? Second meiosis is happening. Again, it's an equation of the n number of chromosomes. And spermatozoa, through the process of differentiation, we'll discuss about what this differentiation is. Through the process of differentiation is producing what is called the sperm. Okay, so this is very important. Always try to understand spermatogenesis in the form of a flowchart. That's always, NCERT has also mentioned one flowchart, but again, they have given a comparative view of the spermatogenesis, oogenesis, okay? Even in examination, if it has been asked, it's okay if you are giving a flowchart also, but make sure that everything is mentioned. Otherwise, draw the flowchart and write about it. I always say in biology, the paper is not very lengthy, okay? So you can always take some extra minutes and time in every question, complete your answer properly. So what is spermatogenesis? It is a spermatogonias that are diploid structure having 46 number of chromosomes. First, they increase their number inside the seminiferous tubule, okay? So through the mitosis process, it is increasing the number. Then when it is increasing the number, this spermatogonias are forming what is known as a primary spermatocyte. Again, a diploid structure because it is a result of the mitotic division, right? Now, the primary spermatocytes undergo the first meiotic division to form that is what is known as the secondary spermatocyte. So primary to secondary, it's a reductional division it is. So from 2 and it becomes N. The secondary spermatocyte now form what is known as a spermatozoa, that is the N number of chromosome it is. And this is the second meiotic division that is being formed. And then the differentiation occurs and it leads to the formation of a sperm. Okay. So what is happening throughout is that the spermatogonia later on finally gets converted to the spermatozoa, which is having half the number of chromosomes and forming the. There's one term I've used over here, differentiation. What does that mean? Okay. Differentiation is not a division process. Like, for example, this is a spermatozoa. It's a normal cell having a haploid number of chromosomes. But how do the sperms look like? Because sperms have got the head, it has got a neck structure like this, and it has got the tail also like this. Something like this, the sperms are. Right now, the nucleus is present over here. So what is happening within from the spermato to the sperms? There is no change in the pattern of the nucleus. The number of chromosomes are remaining the same because no division process is happening. But actually, the cell is changing its shape on this condition, right? So from spermatozoa to sperm, the cell is changing its shape. And when it is changing its shape, it is the process which we call it as a differentiation process, we call it. Okay. So from the differentiation process, it is finally forming the sperm. Once again, I'm repeating, where is the process happening? It's happening in the testes. And in the testes, where it is happening, if somebody is asking you, it is happening in the seminiferous tubule. So you should always be ready with all the answers. If the question comes, where spermatogenesis is happening? So if you're writing testes, it's an incomplete answer. In the testes, it is happening actually inside the seminiferous tubule. And this seminiferous tubule is, if you remember, I told you that these are the interstitial cells are surrounding the seminiferous tubules. So these interstitial cells are providing nutrition for the process to happen. Right? And finally, the sperms are being formed, and these are the motile structures. And the sperms leave parietal testes, from there to the epididymis, to the vas deferens, to the vas efferentia, to the epididymis, to the vas deferens region, and finally it reaches before reaching the urinary bladder part, it is being taken up by, it is given certain supplements from the prostate, from the bulbourethral glands, from the seminal vesicles, okay? That is how it makes the sperm active in nature, because those glands are actually having the calcium and the fructose content in it. Okay, fine. So that is how this is the complete spermatogenesis process happening. And this is happening inside the test. Okay, so what we learned today, we have discussed about the male and the female reproductive system. We discussed about the diagrams, okay, and we discussed about the spermatogenesis process. In my next lecture, I'm continuing with the oogenesis process, and obviously then the embryo development, the placentation, and all those, and the gestation process, and not in very much in detail in 12th standard. It's just a superficial knowledge you need to have it. So for that, you can come to my next class, okay? I'll wind up my lecture over here. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.